It's Hater Sensei Grandmaster Chosen One, Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with the Coach. Before we begin, big shout out to the channel sponsor, xmartial.com, formerly known as nogibjjgear.com. You can get great shirts like this one where it says Ki Miaura. Look, it's a couple of kitty cats doing a kimura on each other. That's a jiu-jitsu move if you're not familiar. They got great t-shirts, spats, shorts, and more. But you know why they rebranded as X Martial instead of nogibjjgear.com? Because they got more stuff now. The same great nogibjj gear, but also stuff for mixed martial arts, boxing, wrestling, Muay Thai, and other combat sports. So they're expanding their horizons. Also shout out to Relks Bit, makers of fine massage guns. Discount codes for both in the description below, as well as links. On with the question. This one comes from our friend Mr. Moth, repeat questioner, and this might sound like a really obvious question, but it's not. Mr. Moth says, is there something like MMA but with grappling only? And you might think, well, wouldn't that just be no-gi grappling? Well, no, not really, because there are many forms of no-gi grappling which are really very divergent from mixed martial arts. And I don't know if you know who Von Anderson is, but he's one of the pioneers of mixed martial arts in China. He spent many years training with the China top team in Xi'an, helped train a lot of great fighters over there. Anyway, Von Anderson, he was trying to get a grappling tournament together some time ago, and he didn't have any success because people were afraid of the rule set. People coming from no-gi jiu-jitsu backgrounds were afraid of the rule set that he proposed, because essentially he wanted MMA rules minus the striking. And you may still be confused. Isn't that just no-gi BJJ? No, it's not. Here's one of the major differences. And there are many subtle ones, but here's one of the major ones. Slams. Slams. In almost every form of submission grappling, outside of mixed martial arts, slams are banned. Slams will get you instantly disqualified. But Von Anderson proposed a grappling tournament that allowed slams. There was also no holds barred, exactly the same as MMA is. You know, knee reaping, it's okay. All leg locks, all submissions, neck and spinal cranks, everything, it's okay, just like MMA. No holds barred. That means no holds or submissions are illegal. Everything goes. And that made a lot of people nervous. People who, you know, came up on that traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu mindset of, oh, leg locks are bad, leg locks are the devil, you can't put your leg across the hip because that's knee reaping, and no. Okay, but the slams worried a lot of people. This is such a huge game changer in submission grappling. It really is. Unfortunately, YouTube removed one of my favorite videos for being too violent. It was a compilation of slam knockouts in MMA. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fights finished by slams. When the guy on the bottom was working his guard, working for a submission, the guy on top lifts him up and slams him so hard he gets knocked out. This happens a lot in the sport of mixed martial arts, like a whole lot. It's such a big deal. I mean, think about all the times where in the context of sport jiu-jitsu, IBJJF rules, Naga rules, whatever rules you're going by, where slams are not allowed. And you're working the guard from the bottom and you're safe in that position only because your opponent is not allowed to pick you up and slam you. How many grappling tournaments have you seen where the guy is in the guard, he's on the top position, he picks his opponent up and then works to shimmy his hips free, reduce the friction, and get his opponent on the floor and then try to pass standing fighter versus down fighter sort of deal, where a much more efficient solution would be pick him up and then slam him as many times as it takes. Then we have the aspect of the cage, and there are jiu-jitsu matches more and more that happen nowadays in the cage, but it's still the rare exception, not the norm. The norm is on the open mat, whereas when we see grappling matches in a cage, it changes the dynamic quite a bit. It adds an extra dimension there. The mat, in and of itself, adds this tremendous advantage for those who know how to use it. If you know how to pin your opponent, get his shoulders and hips pinned to the floor, you've got a tremendous advantage over the guy who doesn't. When you understand how to brace against the floor and use that, you've got a tremendous advantage over the guy who doesn't. Now, when you understand how to do those things with the cage, when you understand how to use the cage as an extra leg, when you understand how to use the cage to assist your takedowns, when you understand how to wall walk on the cage to escape from bad positions on the bottom, and all of these other great things, it's like 3D chess versus 2D chess. There's this whole extra dimension that increases the possibilities by a factor of a lot. Now, when we allow slams, when there's a cage, when it's truly no holds barred, as opposed to, getting disqualified for, looking at the other guy the wrong way, basically, as is often the case, hyperbolic, of course, in many jiu-jitsu tournaments, it's a radically different sport. So essentially, MMA, but without the strikes, is not just no-gi grappling. It's not no-gi jiu-jitsu as it's currently practiced and competed. So, yeah, Mr. Moth, that's actually a really great question. It probably sounds like it's a silly one, but it's a really great one. So, are there any tournaments going on right now in the mainstream with that rule set? As far as mainstream, I don't believe so. From time to time, you might be able to find a small one pop up here or there. But in my experience, it's been really difficult to get people on board with that particular rule set, because once you start thinking about it, once you start thinking about the safety ramifications, you start to realize how dangerous grappling without limitations really is. I mean, people respect striking right away because it hurts, it inflicts instant pain when you get punched in the nose. And so people immediately respect the danger of striking. But for some reason, we have to sit back and think about it long and hard before we truly understand how dangerous grappling truly is unchecked. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train. NoGiBJJGear.com is now xmartial.com, serving your needs beyond just no-gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, find brand new equipment for mixed martial arts, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, and more at xmartial.com. As always, use my code RAMSEY10 for 10% off everything on the website. Once again, that's xmartial.com.